Dreaming Soldiers by Catherine Bauer and illustrated by McGrath. Jimmy Watson and John O'Hogan were the best of friends. Swimming in waterholes, camping under the stars, and sharing water bottles kind of friends. They helped the stockmen round up the cattle and chase after the breakaways. When Tilly and Tom, the two smallest Hogans, went missing from the station, Jimmy and Jono rode out together to find and bring them home. "Don't you two get into trouble," Mrs. Hogan said whenever Jimmy and Jono went on an adventure. They swung on the high stockyard fences, swishing flies away and watching Mr. Hogan work the cattle dogs. After dinner each night, they sat on the cool veranda, munching Mrs. Hogan's biscuits, or lay by the campfire, listening to old Reggie's dreaming stories. When Jono went off to big school in the city, Jimmy started work in the stockyards. The boys missed each other. When Jono came home in the holidays, the pair ran shouting and hooting to the waterhole. They camped out under the stars and never tired of old Reggie's campfire stories. After big school, Jono went away to university. He was away longer now, but always came home for Christmas. Jimmy drove with Mr. Hogan to collect Jono from the train. Mr. Hogan told Jimmy to ignore the men who stared as they drove by. One year, after Christmas, Jono and Jimmy went into town for supplies. They came home to tell everyone they'd joined up. "We're in the army," Jono told his mother. "We're off to fight in the war," Jimmy said. It was going to be a big adventure. They'd travel to far-off places and get good pay. How their mothers cried. "Don't you two get into trouble," Mrs. Hogan said. The pair sailed for distant lands on a big steel ship. The desert was hot like the one Jimmy knew at home, but it was stonier and not the same rich colour he knew so well. Vast oceans, endless skies, and limitless mountain ranges. The foreign soil exploded under Jimmy's feet. Another ear-splitting whine followed and the ground shook. Lumps of earth flew through the air. Jimmy's ears roared as he pulled Jono out of the dirt. "Thanks, that was close," Jono said, and swung an arm around his friend. Shoulder to shoulder, Jono, Jimmy's big grin flashed. "Your mum wouldn't be happy if I let you get into trouble." Days and nights became one. The long days were for fighting or waiting, for cleaning rifles and mending uniforms, for travelling or catching up on sleep. When not blazing with enemy fire, the cool nights were for restoring Jimmy's courage. They were for pacing under the stars on sentry duty, for laughing with mates, and for trying not to think about tomorrow or his sweetheart Gwenny waiting back on the station. The quiet dark was for remembering old Reggie's stories, for thinking of home, or for silent, unseen tears. Like his ancient sky at home, this foreign sky was big and dark as charcoal, but as hard as Jimmy searched for the Southern Cross, he couldn't find it. He wondered if the same people and creatures from the dreaming stories had shaped this desert too. Sometimes when the battle was fierce, when the earth burned his throat, and when another mate was stretchered away, Jimmy wished the ancestral spirits of the dreaming would take him home. But this time was special too, because for the first time, Jimmy was treated just like everyone else. He had a job to do, just like Jono and all the others. And when it was over, they came home together.